Hello and welcome to Arts 24. Thank you for joining us today. He is an Afghan-American photographer and filmmaker whose work is not just broad but impactful too. He's also shot advertising campaigns featuring stars like Drake, Snoop Dogg and Will Ferrell. Daniel Malikyar, welcome. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's talk about this new photography book, Afghanistan. I've got it here with me. You were telling me before it's the first ever copy, right?
Yes, I just received this yesterday, so opened it up and very excited to have it here with us.
Well, thank you for bringing it. It's your most personal project, the photography book, Afghanistan. It's a collection of photos that sets out to capture a side of Afghanistan that we rarely see, if at all, never see. Beautiful, resilient, joyous. I want to get right into it, but first let's take a look at this book. Really beautiful images there. Is there a particular moment or experience that sort of triggered the making of this project?
I think the making of this project began many, many years ago, subconsciously. Growing up in the United States as the son of Afghan refugees, I was always connected to my motherland, and I always had this longing to gain a deeper understanding of that connection and of our culture. And fast forward many years later, I went and I was able to do that through the lens of this project, which felt very special because as kids of immigrants, a lot of times you grow up in one place, but you still have ties to your roots. And there's a longing to bridge that gap. And I always felt that throughout my life. And I finally feel like I've been able to do that in a meaningful way through this.
How often do you go back to Afghanistan?
So I've been going back and forth for many years, and I plan to continue to do so for the rest of my life.
Now, you mentioned it there. You were born in the U.S. to Afghan parents who came to the U.S. In 1979. You grew up in L.A., which seems sort of worlds away from the Afghan culture. What was your childhood like, and how did your upbringing impact your decision to become a photographer and then your career as a photographer? For instance, I know that your grandfather played a huge influence on you young.
Yes, at home I was surrounded by the beauty of Afghan culture, the warmth, the hospitality, the music, the food. And when I stepped outside, I felt like because of the things that people had seen in Western media, the perception of where I came from was something entirely different. So I kind of felt like I grew up in between two worlds in a way.
And what was that perception?
The perception was largely war, negativity, violence, things that people had seen in the news, and there was maybe a lack of awareness of the things that existed beyond that. And so I felt like that really shaped and influenced how I moved through the world at that age. Growing up in Los Angeles, too, it's such a place that has all these different subcultures and unique influences, and I feel like growing up skateboarding and playing football and doing these different things also exposed me to areas and things outside of what I just learned at home or at school. And a lot of what I was interested in had very direct visual cultures tied to it. So the combination of that plus the influence of my grandfather, Omar, he was a radio journalist for the Voice of America for over 30 years and a diplomat in Afghanistan. And I only got to see him once or twice a year. And every time I did, he documented those trips. So starting at age 5, I always kind of understood the value and importance of preserving these moments in time because I didn't get to see my grandfather very often. And when I did, he would document it and he would send back those tapes and those photographs. And I got to relive those moments through his perspective. And I picked up a camera starting 4 or 5 years old and never looked back.
And continued all these years afterwards. Now, many of the photos were taken in remote regions and communities before the Taliban came back to power in 2021. I mean, there are two key moments, I guess, in your life. You were 6 years old when the U.S. declared war on Afghanistan in 2001. You were 26 when the Taliban came back to power. Can you tell us what went through your mind at those two times?
Yeah, I think at 6 years old, you're still gaining an understanding of the world around you. So I was just trying to make sense of the duality of what I experienced at home and the beauty versus what I saw in the news and what I listened to every day on National Public Radio being dropped off at school by my dad. So I was just trying to make sense between the two. And as I got a deeper understanding of the world and where I come from, I think I really had this longing to show the other side, which is just the humanity. And that's why I went through the lengths that I did to travel to places and villages and provinces that require extreme logistics, time, energy to get to. But it was so rewarding because I got to really see that side that I knew existed. And to be able to document that was a privilege. And a lot of these photographs are a reflection of who Afghan people are because I was able to meet them for who they are, not through the lens of a foreign gaze or a story. I just documented moments as they unfolded, and I think the body of work reflects that.
Now, your photography book, Afghanistan, has also been developed as a docuseries, 11 short episodes that will be released on YouTube this September. Take a look.
It became clear to me that the world had only ever seen one side of the story. Fast forward 20 years later, I've traveled to over 50 countries creating visual stories about the world's most interesting communities. And after a lifetime of planning, I set out to do something that's never been done before. Tell the story of our people through the lens of an Afghan-American. I'm traveling the entire country under the radar.
Why the docuseries as well, then?
So photography and film have always gone hand in hand for me throughout my life. And I've developed a what I like to call a storytelling blueprint, where there are different mediums of visual storytelling that ultimately work towards the same mission, which is to shift the perception of Afghanistan through showcasing the human stories and open up a conversation around the fact that no people and no place can ever be reduced to a headline. And the way that I did that was through this photography book, and each chapter in the book has a corresponding documentary episode. And what that documentary episode does is it takes you on the journey with me as I create these photographs, and you get to meet the subjects and see the places in real time as everything is unfolding. And I think it's a very special way for people to be able to experience what it really is like in Afghanistan, because an image is so powerful, but when you get to hear it and see it, it adds a different layer of connection.
Okay, well, your other projects are vastly different, as we mentioned, to the Afghanistan series. Sport, travel, music, you've done it all. You shaped the visual identity of American DJ and producer Marshmello and shot several of his music videos, including this one, Happier, which hit nearly 1.4 billion views on YouTube. Take a look.
When the morning comes and we see what we've become, in the cold light of day we're a flame in the wind, not the fire that we begun. Every argument, every word we can't take back, 'cause with all that has happened I think that we both know the way that the story ends.
So you did this kind of video clip. You've also shot several photos of musicians, from Snoop Dogg to Drake to Migos to Ice Cube. How does your approach to this kind of work, these kind of portraits and this kind of video clip, differ to, for instance, your approach to the Afghanistan series? It's not the same subject.
Sure, not the same subject, but it's all rooted in human storytelling and authentic connection. And for me, the camera is just a motivation or a vehicle to be able to connect with people and tell stories. And so the same way that I would approach photographing an iconic person like Drake or Snoop Dogg is the same level of respect that I would give a sweet grandma in a village in Afghanistan. Same level of purity, eye contact, and I think that's why the images all feel the way that they do.
Now, I love one collection you did called Weed Nuns. You followed the Sisters of the Valley, a group of women in California who produce and sell their own cannabis. Cannabis is, of course, legal for recreational and medicinal use in the state of California. Stylistically speaking, I noticed this series was similar to the one that you did documenting the LA lowrider subculture. In other words, in black and white. Why did you opt for black and white for this series?
It felt very timeless. I love the idea of the images standing the test of time and not necessarily tying to a specific era. And I also think the sisters themselves are such stoic, unique humans, and I wanted to make sure that the images really, really felt bold and felt like something that would stop you in your tracks when you saw them. And I think their vintage Chevrolet Impala maybe inspired the approach of using a fisheye lens and almost feeling like a hip-hop album cover. And
that one that we see there kind of looks like a Beatles cover, doesn't it?
Definitely. It's very akin to Abbey Road. So this was a very fun series to make, and I'm actually working on a broader project with the Weed Nuns right now that will be rolled out in December at Art Basel in Miami.
Okay, also a photography exhibition?
Yes.
Okay, great. Now, Daniel, I know that you are a football fan. Who are you supporting for the World Cup?
So I love the game. I've played the game my entire life, and I always root for the underdogs, but I'm a multi-generation Brazil fan, so
Okay.
I'm hoping that Brazil goes far.
Well, they did just beat Japan, so that was a good match for them. Now, this exhibition will then appeal to you. It's called The Art of Football, and it's a free exhibition right now in Miami's Wynwood district. It showcases football themes by football-themed works by local artists, some of which are up for sale too. You'll find, for instance, a Maradona portrait made out of nails and a two-headed goat painting with the heads of Messi and Ronaldo. Let's leave you with some images of the Art of Football exhibition. Daniel, thank you so much for coming here to talk to us about your work and about your Afghanistan project. Thank you so much for coming, for watching us on France 24. See you next time.